There we go. And thank you for joining us. Just wanted to take a brief couple of minutes here and let you all introduce yourselves to our guests today.
I'm Susan Kaye. I am a retired pathologist. And I don't know what else to say. This is my husband, Neil.
Hi, I'm Neil Kaye. I'm a practicing psychiatrist. We are both donors. I gave my kidney about a year and a half ago, and you just celebrated your one-year anniversary.
Yesterday.
Wow, wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's pretty remarkable to have 3 living donors all in one spot over Zoom here. So thank you for being here. Thank you for taking out the time to talk to us today. We want to share this video with our constituents, and we just want people to know a little more about living donation and where to go about finding people that are willing to donate. And just, people oftentimes have so many questions about it. So during this segment here, a lot of those questions can be answered. So I wanted to start with what made each of you consider living donation?
So I guess I'll start. I as a pathologist, as a doctor in general, I've always known that there was a need for kidney donations. We see so many people who are on dialysis, know the numbers, know how many people each year wait for kidneys. I have always been a giving person. I've given my blood since I was 18 and continued until just before my donation of my kidney. And I always felt that I wanted to do more. I wanted to do something that would really impact a person. And I started to think about donating a kidney, and could I do that, at my age? And I started researching it. And then I found out that Neil also had been looking at it.
So my first exposure to dialysis was during medical school. And then in 1990, I actually worked as a psychiatrist in the dialysis unit at Christiana Hospital. And I saw how dialysis and how kidney disease really impacted on people's lives and basically destroyed the quality of life. So if you're going for dialysis 3 times a week, which is pretty typical, it takes half to 3/4 of your day, and you're exhausted afterwards, and it's just no way to live. And so I thought, gosh, I really should do this. And then, unbeknownst to both of us, so we were thinking about it independently and had not yet discussed it. We discovered that our niece in South Carolina had just done this. She posted something on Facebook saying that she had just given the kidney, and we thought, okay, now she shamed us. We got to get off the stick and get doing this. So we began the process.
I like to think of it as she gave us a push.
That was a really good sign. Yeah.
And at 30 something years old with a 3-year-old, she was able to do this and came through it, relatively easily. And we felt that we really could also do this.
That's awesome. At our work with the National Kidney Foundation, a lot of times, a lot of the common themes that we hear, and Neil, this is exactly to your point, from dialysis patients is when they're first starting dialysis, they're scared. They don't know what to expect. It's very, very overwhelming. Your whole life is changing in front of you, and you have to change a lot of things in your life, from your diet and your exercise and trying to ration your time and how to fit dialysis in and what mode of dialysis to take and all of those things. And so once people get past that initial hump of being scared and they start dialysis and things are going along, and people start to talk to them about, getting a kidney transplant. And we know that that's another, treatment. It's not a cure, but it is a much better option to have a kidney from a living donor than it is a deceased donor. And oftentimes people don't know where to start, and they don't know who to ask or how to ask their family. And those can all be uncomfortable things. And we're just trying to break the barriers of that and let people know that living donation doesn't have to be scary. So can you talk to us a few minutes about your donations were non-directed, not to someone specific? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So we both decided that we were going to do this, and that we were going to do it non-directed, anonymous, meaning that our kidneys would go to whoever needed them in the match system, and that we would not know who our recipients were, and they would not know who their donors were. And that was our desire to do it that way. We felt that it was clean. It was a way for no one to feel beholden to anyone else. And in terms of our own view of charity and altruism and religion, it was what we felt was the right path for us.
We then looked, we live in Delaware, and we looked around at the hospitals that are doing it, and we decided to go to a hospital, and we approached them and asked what we had to do. And basically we filled out some forms online, so it was very easy. And after that, basically when we decided we were ready to donate, timing wise, we set up an appointment to meet with the transplant team. First, we had blood drawn, and probably that was, that was the quote hardest thing to do because it was a lot of blood, but it was just a blood draw. They probably got every test in the world imaginable, making sure that we were healthy. The transplant teams want the donors to be healthy. They don't want anything bad to happen to the donors after they give their kidney. So we had our bloods drawn, and we then went to the hospital and had an interview with a nephrologist, with a surgeon, with a social worker. Because we were over 60, we also had an EKG and a cardiac stress test, MRI, so every test in the world. And then we went home. They looked at all the results of our tests and said, "You're both great donors. Who wants to go first?" And that was it, really.
Wow, that's amazing. And Neil, you went first. Is that
I
right?
ended up going first also, and again, the hospital was extremely accommodating. They basically said, you can tell us when you're ready, when it works in your schedule, and we'll do our best to get you in on that date. They said, if you can give us a 2-week window, that would be ideal, which we were able to do. So when it was going to be right for us in terms of our timing, they set it all up. I ended up going first simply because in the workups, so we started our workups together, there was a question about something on one of Susan's x-rays, and they decided they wanted to follow that up, which they did. And it's probably a good time to say to everybody that all of these workups, all of the tests, if they find something, the extra workup that goes with that, are all free. That's all covered by the system. So you never pay as a donor for anything. And if they happen to find something, they pursue that at their expense as well. So I ended up going first just before the COVID lockdown. And then Susan actually had hers during COVID, so a little bit different experience.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned that. That's a question that is asked a lot, is how does the insurance side of things work? And how would I pay for this? And how do I handle time off of work? So I'm glad you brought that up because that's an important topic. What about your surgeries? Tell us a little bit about your surgeries and how that went and how your recovery went.
So surgery, for the patient, surgery is always kind of simple. You go into the hospital and you get put to sleep, and obviously nothing, and you wake up either in the recovery room or possibly even in a room. And honestly, we were each in the hospital for a day. Our kidneys were removed on Thursday, and we came home on Friday.
Wow.
Waking up, you're on pain meds and you have the anesthesia. So the anesthesia dulls any pain that you might have. But the surgery is laparoscopic. So you have, 2 maybe inch long incisions in your usually left side, in your lower left side. and then one incision from your belly button about 2 to 3 inches up. And that's where they take the kidney out. The kidney is about the size of your fist, so that's how big the incision needs to be. In the hospital, as soon as you wake up, they and are alert, they take you walking because they want the patients to walk. It helps you with your recovery. It helps you, get out of the hospital soon. So, I was in the hospital when Neil had his surgery, so I walked him around. But because my surgery was during COVID, he could not be there. And so the nurses took care of me and the nurses' aides, and they were just wonderful. Walked me around multiple times. I was really in no pain. I didn't ask for any narcotics. They have a pain medication drip in your arm, and you have some IVs, and of course you have a catheter. And before you leave the hospital, they take all that out and make sure everything's working all right. And I came home. So after I was home, your restrictions when you first have your surgery are no lifting, because you don't want to get a hernia. So no lifting anything over 10 pounds for about 6 weeks. No abdominal work. So if you work out, you can't do anything that's going to really use your abdominal muscles, because again, you don't want a hernia. For me, I'd say for about a week or so, I was kind of lethargic. I was sleepy a lot, but I was never in pain. I didn't have to take any pain medications. Neil bounced back a little bit faster, 2-3 days, he was up and running around. But it took me about a week to get back to my normal self. And really since then, it's been fine. In fact, I had a 1-year appointment with my surgeon via Zoom this morning, and she told me that my kidney function was absolutely normal. So it's been a great experience.
Fantastic.
Yeah, for me, very similar experience. The one thing I would note for any younger women on this call who might care about this, our niece being a young woman, she wanted her incision to be the bikini incision. So the surgeons are able to accommodate that if you don't like the horizontal. I'm sorry, the vertical scar. So they did Sarah's below the belt, so to speak.
And she actually says that she had a little bit more muscle pain than we did, because you're cutting across the muscle rather than in a longitudinal fashion.
Yeah.
So, but she said I was vain. She's allowed to be.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's allowed to be.
Again, went into the hospital early Thursday morning, had the surgery, discharged midday on Friday. I'm a psychiatrist. I was back in the office with a half a day of patients on Monday. That might have been pushing it a little bit, but I am one to push a little bit. I think fatigue was really the biggest thing for me. The first few days, I took a lot of naps, and that's not characteristic for me, but that was fine. Pain medication, Tylenol was fine. They offered opiates if we needed them. Neither of us really felt we needed them, and we didn't. But if you do, they're available. You wouldn't need them for very many days anyway. It's honestly, it's not a terribly painful experience for the donor. I was very good about following the lifting restrictions. People were sure I wouldn't be, but I was. And when I was back walking on the treadmill within a week, and jogging fairly soon after that, by 6-8 weeks out, I was running the same pace I was running before my surgery. And yeah, no restrictions on life at all. Well, I shouldn't say that. One restriction we have is no non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. So Motrin, aspirin, ibuprofen, Aleve, naproxen, those are heavily metabolized by the kidney, and so you don't want to be using those after you've been a donor, uh, just to not strain your remaining kidney.
But no dietary restrictions, nothing like that. That's a question that we get asked often also. So that's good information.
Nothing, no dietary restrictions at all.
So donating an organ, it saves lives, to put it in the simplest of terms. Do you feel like your life has changed in any way since donating?
It's an interesting question. I guess I feel maybe a little bit more aware of people's problems that you may not know of, whether it's kidney disease or any other kind of disease, and the hardships that people have. I think for me, I'm not sure if this is a change in my life, but it feels really powerful and amazing that, I, as just a regular person, could save someone's life, or at the very least make it more comfortable and probably longer. It's an amazing experience.
Yeah, I'd echo what Susan says. It is remarkable. It is humbling to know that and anybody can do this. Anybody can show up and do this. And the other thing that I think is special for me and different than most donors would have is because we did this together. We have a shared experience after 30 plus years of marriage that helps bring us even closer, I think, and I value it.
That's wonderful. One of the things I think about from my own experience donating, I was a healthy person to begin with, because like you mentioned earlier in the program, you have to be pretty healthy in order to donate, because they're not going to take a kidney away from somebody who may need it later on in their life if they've got some underlying health issues. So I was pretty healthy also, but I was just so much more aware after donation of, like you said, I try to stay away from the NSAIDs anyway, and I'm not one to get headaches, and I don't take a lot of medication anyway, but staying away from that sort of stuff. But I was also pretty cognizant of what I was putting in my body. I had this mindset of, I have one kidney and I have to be really determined to keep it healthy. And so I felt like I was a little more aware of what I was eating and drinking, and maybe exercising a little more. So I tell people all the time when they ask me about how the surgery was, my experience very much echoes yours. I was not back at work on Monday, Neil, even at half day capacity. Okay. I can't even put that on tape. My bosses will watch this, but I took about 2 weeks to really start feeling good. But I tell people all the time, I don't want to make it sound simple, but it was easy. And I think a lot of people don't know that. It could be a scary topic. So, what would be something that you would maybe recommend or say to people that are thinking about living donation but aren't sort of convinced or there yet?
And I tell people that honestly, to do it, it is so important. Again, I mean, we're both physicians, and we had some awareness of the need for kidneys, but in this process, we reviewed the literature, reviewed the numbers, and it's just staggering how many people need this life-saving procedure. And anybody can be a hero. I mean, anybody can show up and donate. You don't have to be a man. All you have to do is be willing to go through the process, which costs you nothing, is not onerous in terms of time, is not particularly painful, and you're going to save somebody's life and improve the quality of their life immeasurably, really at no cost to you. So, I mean, you should do it. To me, it's really become a no-brainer, and I tell everybody to do it. And for people in need, I tell them, you need to ask anybody and everybody, and not be shy. You never know who's going to say yes. And as you know, in this match system, the person who says yes doesn't even have to be a match for you, because that triggers this other system that finds the matches for people and makes it all work out.
That's a really good point. Working in the foundation, we have a lot of people that come to us through our Big Ask, Big Give, seminars where we teach them how to find a living donor or how to ask and give them the tools. And social media is a big one, getting your story out or creating a video. There's all of these things that you can do. So, tell your family is the most important thing. Just get out there and let your family know, your friends and your network, and all of those people can help you. You don't have to go through this alone, I think is a really important thing to mention, because a lot of people, they feel alone. They don't know where to turn. And particularly we have people all the time that, we'll see a poster that they've made or a flyer that they've made to hand out, or even they'll post it to Facebook and they'll say, I need an O blood type donor. And I sit there and I say, no, you don't need, so a lot of people don't know about this paired exchange process. And I think it's fascinating that you don't have to have a specific match, because one of your family members might not be that match, but they might be a match for somebody completely across the country, and someone's a match for you. So that database is remarkable. Thank you for mentioning that.
And I think should donors, I would also say, that are hesitant, potential donors that are hesitant, there's so many resources. The foundation is a resource. Go online, talk to people, look up things that you can find people like the three of us who have donated and can tell you what it's like and what the experience is like. And it really is, as you said, an easy thing to do. It's just time. It's just some time.
It is. Is there anything else that either of you would like to touch on or mention that we haven't talked about?
I don't think so.
Be a hero, go donate. That's my message to everybody.
I love it.
And this is, there's not very many times a person can say that they saved another person's life. It's pretty remarkable. And yet, pretty much anybody can do this and save somebody else's life.
Yeah.
And go do it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the time that you both took out of your day to be here with me today. I've enjoyed meeting you and getting to know you a little better today. And I look forward to us being able to work together on projects in the future and getting more and more people aware about living donation and kidney disease in general, because like you mentioned earlier, Neil and Susan, you touched on it too, the numbers are staggering. So thank you for making a difference in the lives of kidney patients and being good people. And it was a pleasure to talk to you both today.
Thanks.
Well, thank you very much. And we're happy to do it.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys and your time. I'm going to go ahead and